Hi, this is Kim from Yarns of Italy, and I'm the creative person behind our yarns. After I put my first video up on the continental knit stitch, my brother texted me and said, okay, how do you get the yarn on the needles? So I'm going to teach you a really easy way to get yarn on the needles. So before we do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about these needles. These are just pretty classic needles. They're actually vintage, and as a friend of mine was building up her needle collection, she went on eBay and she bought a lot of needles. I mean, like a huge lot of needles. They came in a great big box. She took what she needed and she gave me the rest for my knitting group. I simply put them through the dishwasher a couple times, and now I have lots and lots of extra needles for any project. So first we're going to do this cast on, which is how you talk about putting the yarn on the needles, with these big needles and some yarn that I bought on a buying trip to Italy. It's not a yarn that we carry, it's just really, really bright orange so that you can see it clearly. Okay, so for this cast on, I'm using size 13 needles. A lot of times people ask me how to know what needles are best to use with their yarn, and we'll answer those questions for you, or you can find them a lot on our listings or even on the bands of yarn. That was the Yarns of Italy dog, Emily, barking. Basically, you want to use whatever needle gives you the right size fabric, the right feeling of fabric that you want. So this is big yarn. I'm using big needles. I'm going to make another slip knot. And that's how you make a slip knot. Let's try that again. You make a loop, you reach in the loop and grab another loop, and you've got a nice edge. Now I'm going to take the other needle. I'm going to put the loop in my left hand. I'm just like I was knitting. And of course I knit continentals, so the yarn's in my left hand, but it can be in your right. I'm going to stick the needle through, the right hand needle through the left. I'm going to loop this over and make a stitch just like I was knitting, except I'm going to take this loop and put it back on the left needle. And this feels a little cattywampus, as we would say in Missouri, but we just work between these two stitches. Again, we do the same thing. We basically knit a stitch, stick it on the left needle, wrap it over, pull it through. And you see I'm bringing up enough loop so that it's not super tight. It takes some time to learn how to do that evenly, but you know, it's knitting. Just relax, it'll be okay. And you just repeat that. Now sometimes your stitches will sit a little funny on there, but don't worry. Just keep putting them on. Make sure this one doesn't slide over this one, or you'll get a funny cast on edge. Pull it through, put it on. Let's see if I can do that real slowly. And that's how you do this kind of basic cast on. Let me switch needles for a moment and switch yarn. I'm going to use a thinner yarn. Now I'm going to show you, if the dog will leave me alone for a moment, how to do this on smaller needles. The technique isn't different, but sometimes seeing it in a different yarn and different needles helps. Plus I have these two different colored needles. This is Yarns of Italy Lunare, and this is the undyed colorway, so this is just the raw cotton color. And since it's a center pull ball, I could reach in here very gently and find the center, or I could work from the outside. What I'm going to do is come down here and make a slip knot. Let me do that again. Wrap it around, pick that up, pull it through. Stick it on my needle. Put this needle in my left hand. Now, you can see this is a mini stranded cotton, so I want to make sure that I get through all the loops, because you can split yarns like these. Looks better if you don't. So I'm going to stick all the way through that loop, and keeping it loose will help me not split the stitches. I'm going to wrap that over, pull it through, stick it on the needle. Now cotton is less elastic than wool, so I want to be a little more careful with my tension to try to keep those loops even, because it's not going to give as much in a finished project as wool would, because wool is animal hair and it's stretchier and more elastic than cotton, which is not elastic at all. I'm just coming through here, wrapping it under, Let's make those move. Oops, split it. We're just going to pick that up, put it back on. Wrap that over. Pull it through. Bring the loop up to the right height. Slide it on my needle. And I repeat. When I'm done at the end of the row, I don't have to do anything except knit. And my yarn is cast on. This gives you a nice edge. It's not elastic, but it is a nice finished edge. Let's do another row so you can see what that looks like. This is a great alternative to the long tail cast on, which I will teach you in another video, because it doesn't waste yarn that you can have, and you'll never cast on a row and run out of yarn unless you're casting on hundreds and hundreds of stitches. Let's do another row. And you can see, whoop, pulled it right off my needles. No panic, just put it right back on. You can see we have a nice little edge. It's not the best looking edge in the world, but it's a good easy cast on.